can take all the gazettes, decide, oh, we collected 700 million last year, this year. So what will come to the budget next year? They apply the formula and then they say, oh, 600 million of this 700 or 500 million will go to the budget. You don't have to wait on the budget. They know that. That's ultimate democratization of this and transparency. Ultimate, where citizens can do that. Don't have to wait in an obscure office somewhere in the country with a politician deciding how that will happen. That is transparency. The third thing had to do with the use of the money. Now, APNU wants to spend every cent more through, they want to give out all this money, let's eat it all up one day. And we're going, we don't even have enough money to give out. We can't afford what they're saying we should give out. We're not collecting so much money that they want to pay out now. So we can't, if we do that, we can't build roads, we can't build hospitals, schools, nothing for the future. But they will have a chance to make that case. Because every cent that will be funded from the oil money transferred to the treasury, every activity has to go to the parliament and be debated. They have a say in it. They can oppose it, they can support it, they can make suggestions otherwise, but it will be done transparently. So the PPP can't fund an activity or government that is not approved by the parliament. So all the oil money that comes to the treasury will finance only approved activities by the parliament. That's in terms of use, and that's transparent. And people ask, oh, are there penalties for breaching that now? What if someone misuses it? Well, there's serious penalties that are existing for breach of spending. And then the fourth area had to do with management that Norton spoke more of. So Norton did not have a problem when Jordan or their Minister of Finance controlled everything. He controlled the central bank, which is mandated to operate the fund or manage the fund. The central bank had to report to him directly. He will decide where our money was invested. He would have decided in what instruments, what rate of return, all of that. And they didn't have a problem with this. Norton was, the Minister of Finance is a political appointee. So a politician would have determined the investment for the fund, the money in the fund.
Lies.
We decided, when we said in opposition, we wanted a layer between the politician and the management of the fund.
Lies.
So we decided to insert a board of directors. Now, I thought they will be happy with this, the civil society. Everybody would applaud it. Suddenly, they're cussing us now. They were happy with the old system, although they fight for transparency. Lies. And they're saying, oh, who appoints the board of directors now? That's why they're going to.
Lies.
Well, of course, the president has three. We made it clear the president has three nominees there in the direct, and we are going to include someone from the private sector and one from the parliament. But we're now putting politicians or active politicians on any on the board of directors. We will not put active politicians.
Lies.
So you have technical people with some skills there that can oversee the management of the fund.
Soup drinkers.
And it's a layer between the Minister of Finance.
Soup drinkers.
And the oversight body, they have to report to the parliament too. A report will go to the parliament to be debated. The oversight body, that will 22 organizations.
They got to report to
We
you.
made it operational by putting all the civil society and private sector
And soup
professions and
drinkers.
all.
And soup
But it's a smaller
drinkers.
body now, but you will report also
To you.
to the parliament.
To you.
Now, what we have done here, we fulfill our manifesto promise.
Propaganda.
We've made the management of the fund more arm's length from the
No.
politicians.
Easier for you to grab money. That's what
And
you.
so they now said they want somebody on the fund.
No,
They want a politician on the fund. They want somebody on the fund. They didn't have a problem. They didn't have a problem with the Minister of Finance. Had we left it like the law they passed, guess who would have been running the fund now? Had we just decided to implement the AMP new law, Ashley Singh would have been running the fund.
just be quiet.
If we just left it alone, and there wouldn't have been any need to publicize how much we receive, and Ashley Singh could have determined every year how much we collect, or the office of the president, because Ashley is not in the office of the president. We could have determined that.
Just a
We can't do that anymore based on the law we passed. So clearly they can just go and play the victim all the time. But they supported a system that was inherent.
All right, I just put him on pause for a quick second. Some of you, we've got to be proactive when dealing with political opponents, and it's good to hear what they have to say and expose their lies and their propaganda to the world. That's the reason why he's on. So listen to the lies. In fact, he just got out of a meeting, or maybe earlier, a meeting with the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Caribbean Affairs and Haiti, that traveled to Guyana, Ms. Barbara Feinstein. And so that's what he's talking about. He's trying to gain points. We cannot allow him to gain points at all. He is lying about transparency. He knows why he wants to control whatever amount of money's placed in the oil fund, right? He knows exactly why he wants to control it. So let's get back and listen to the lies, the pure lies coming out of this guy's mouth. And nothing is new, right?
Some are undemocratic. It's one person organization. One man couldn't get a job in government. He went off, that he discussed with us. He went off and formed an organization that has become one of the most vocal ones. And I'll talk about that some other day if he pushes me.
Now talk about it now. Don't threaten people. Talk about it now.
But
he's talking about Article 13.
We want to work with civil society. You can't come and lie about it. Oh, we are moving too fast for civil society. We promised the electorate we will move fast to create jobs and try to get the cost of electricity down. How are we going to get it done if we don't build the power plants of the future, or do some of the things we're doing now?
23 years he had.
And the hospital,
23 years he had to do that.
We have to do that.
No, 23 years.
We must send all of our plans. Although we contested the elections and the electorate gave you the mandate based on these plans that you presented today.
Based on rigged results. Rigged results.
To the McCormack now, so he could give the stamp of approval.
Rigged results.
For the policy form. And what was dishonest about it too, that I saw the dishonesty in that statement, that many of the organizations that he claimed that were part of the policy forum, they didn't even see the statement he released, and subsequently distanced themselves from it, using the society for the blind and all of this. These are vultures' praise.
What about you?
Use of the vulture word. Sometimes, how unhappy they were.
Talk about this.
I said it, but it is true.
Vultures, right?
We got to learn to call a spade in this country. And so we are open to civil society and ideas, people who want to improve things, want to work along with projects. But they seem to us want to block everything that benefits the people of this country.
No, everything that you want to teach.
A little group who can afford to live because their bread is well buttered.
Like you.
Everything for poor people, and they seem to want to block.
I know. Like your mansion.
So we're open to civil society growing. We'll support civil society when it expand and this to happen. But we will also, when people try to unfairly damage the image of our country
Oh, really?
or misrepresent what we do, we will defend ourselves.
Yeah, give us a break.
We spoke a bit about the border too, and the assurances that were being communicated publicly by the Deputy Assistant Secretary.
Did you tell her that you wanted to
at the
give
meeting
Venezuela a
about the
piece of
US
Guyana?
position in relation to our sovereignty, its strong support for our territorial.
I know this is Jagdeo. This is the guy that's talking about his conversation, his meeting with the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary for Caribbean Affairs and Haiti, Ms. Barbara Feinstein. He's saying that he spoke with her about the Venezuela-Guyana border issue. I hope he told her that he was willing to give Venezuela a piece of Guyana so that he can continue getting a bigger piece of the pie, of course, which for himself, and to sell Guyana out to Venezuela. He, Barra Jagdeo, was prepared to do that. I hope he told Ms. Barbara Feinstein that part as well. So, I tell you what, it's painful to listen to the lies, but I just want you guys to hear the lies and not to ignore them, but to respond to them as swiftly as possible. More lies.
So I'm not going to say much more about that matter because I think it's enough to say that at this time. I spoke extensively about racism in Guyana.
Wow.
And its origins and the need to have some fact-based debates and stuff. And because I think it's time we take this issue on frontally.
Oh,
I
gosh.
think it's time we take it on frontally. And I started doing that by calling again a spade with issues that we've tiptoed around. Because when you do the assessment,
let me pause the volume from his press conference because this is live, right? This guy just said that he spoke about racism in Guyana. This guy, y'all remember his good friend now, Freddie Kissoon, took some evidence from Agda and some other people like Lincoln Lewis, when Lincoln Lewis was actually talking about economic genocide in Guyana. And when Agda and Lincoln Lewis and others were talking about no Afro-Guyanese diplomat in Guyana under his presidency, this man is talking about racism, that he spoke about racism and he wants to work and that nobody else is, I can't continue. Let's go.
And we didn't have jobs. Half of our population had fled. You didn't get power for 2 weeks at a time. The roads were impassable. The hospitals didn't have drugs. City fences were falling apart. We couldn't pay our debts. We didn't have foreign exchange.
Oh my God.
You had to go and get $20 stamped in your passport.
You hear the lies from this guy? Could you imagine for 23 years they've been in office and he sat there with this lady from the U.S. State Department to talk about lies, to talk about racism. We didn't have roads. Look at the roads under the PPPC regime. Look at the hundreds of people who were slaughtered under the PPP regime. The unemployment was the highest under the PPP regime. Oh my gosh. You guys gotta forgive me, right, for hearing this. But this is the evidence about this man. This man. Could you believe him? Come on, operator. Let's get back. Let's let the people hear some more of these lies coming from this vagabond.
Working close to the minimum wage. $25. And they were mainly Afro-Guyanese in the public service. Those on fixed income fared even worse than those who were doing some farming who couldn't find job in the public service. So what really, they didn't give any house lots in that period. That was after 28 years.
After 28 years, can you talk about the housing schemes that were developed under the PNC? Can you talk about all the roads that were built under the PNC, from the Linden Highway, the Quarantine Highway, all the roads around Georgetown and other places, in Essequibo, in Port Morant, Blackbush, Polder? Nothing happened under the PNC regime? Come on, political vagabond, nothing? Look at what you guys did under the PPP regime. Stole billions upon billions of dollars. Don't talk about mainly Afro-Guyanese public servants. Look at what you did to them. As soon as you guys got back into office, over 3,000 plus mainly Afro-Guyanese public servants were fired. Somebody's got to talk to Barbara Feinstein. Somebody's got to talk to her, right? And I'm not talking about just a photo op. Somebody's got to talk to her. But I noticed a comment from one of our listeners, Brenda Casey. Brenda Casey is correct. This is what she's saying. Barbara Feinstein is measuring what he says versus what she knows. That's a good way of putting it, Brenda. That's a really good way. Now let's get back to this lying political vagabond.
We're all suffering. We're all. And then the 5 years, they came in and they didn't do much for anyone, including Afro.
Really?
No housing. We've gone back to more taxes, took away the children grant. Everyone got affected.
Took away the children grant?
And deal with this issue in a fact-based, factual.
What is the PNC doing? I hope they will respond to this guy.
That they love people in the.
Now let me say this: under the PNC regime, extrajudicial killings reduced 99.9%. 99.9%. Right? School children enjoyed the best time of their lives under the coalition government. Under the PPPC regime, they didn't give a damn about school children. But I tell you what, under the coalition, they had the 5 Bs, bicycle, bus, boats, breakfast, and all these manner of things where thousands of school children, regardless of their ethnic background, regardless of their political affiliation, under the coalition government. Jagdeo, you are indeed a real political vagabond. Let's continue to hear the lies.
No, I probably wouldn't have taken this unusual step, as I said before, to host this, but he just released his notes. So I don't want people to think that, we don't have an answer to these things.
No, you don't. You have lies.
We've answered these issues a million times before. It's just that he ignores the answer, like how it's unconstitutional to remove people's name from the voters list. Somebody should ask him about that. Ask Norton, are you suggesting we break the Constitution?
No, but you guys,
the ruling of the Chief Justice.
I can't. I mean,
somebody should ask him these tough questions. Let's throw softball at him.
Let's throw softball at him. People throw softball at you too. Let's what?
You're serving the question of registration in light of the ongoing concerns about voting lists and so on. Is your government willing to reconsider the residency requirement? And sir, secondly, why in the spirit of One Guyana, the One Guyana Trust, did your government make specific provisions in the NRF law for a representative, not necessarily active politician, of the opposition to sit on the board, to be part of the whole deliberative process in the way the money is being spent? And if you allow me a third question quickly, sir. You are talking so much about transparency in the process for the approval of the funds and so on, but at the end of the day, what do you say to sections of John public, probably including some of your own supporters, who may say, sir, that you have the majority in the House? So regardless of how much objections they may have in the Parliament and the process, that you will use your simple majority to pass and you use the money funds from the fund without even taking on board the best recommendations possible from the opposition.
So there are several questions you asked. Why didn't we put someone from the opposition on the a nominee from the opposition on the board? Because we do not want to politicize the work of the board. This is a technical board. Mr. Barrow is there because Mr. Barrow has enormous financial skills.
Really?
He's not an active politician.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so we needed that, we needed diversity, but not political diversity.
Yeah. Give me a
We
break.
wanted it to remain at technical level. They will have an advisor, not to every issue. You have four other non-political persons, and you have this one person representing opposition. To every meeting, carry opposition politics to the management of the fund. We wanted to avoid that. This is not a
You
political
want
body
people
we're
you
setting
could
up.
control.
A technical body.
No, you could control
And
Barrow.
so
You could control the other
people
guy
will
from the
know
so-called private
about
sector.
how
Lies,
much
lies,
money
lies.
is in the fund. They will have a report every year
Corinne,
going
don't
from
go.
the
Stay.
technical body
Here's
to
some
the
more of the lies.
Minister
We got to be
of
able to
Finance to
debunk
the
the lies, you know.
Parliament.
Don't go.
We be debated, they'll have a say. But we don't want the politics to be played out between PPP and PNU at the level of the board.
Oh, gosh.
So that's one.
Uh-huh.
Even if it's a
That's
technical-
one lie. Let's hear the other lies.
Even if it's a technical nominee coming from the opposition.
Because so
So,
the technical nominees, we believe
Uh-huh.
that a number of people there were political and
Uh-huh.
some have pecuniary interests.
uh-huh.
A couple of people there that were there are doing work for oil and gas companies,
And Dookie doesn't have that.
accounting work, auditing
Barrow
work.
doesn't have
They
that.
have pecuniary interests.
Yeah.
The people we're hoping to select are people who don't have
The
anything
political
to do with oil and
puppets
gas
you want to
company. In
select.
fact,
The
don't work
puppets.
for them.
Give
Two.
me a break.
Or are not politicians. And you had several politicians they suggested, and people with pecuniary interests.
Come on, Lionel.
And,
Come on.
and I would have thought that they would have been happy about Dunstan Barrow. We didn't supply, we didn't go and put a PPP man down there.
You want a sympathizer, you want somebody
We
who's
put
closer to the
someone who
people.
had enormous experience on the financial side, who was one of the members of parliament in the past.
One of the members of parliament.
Should be
I knew
happy.
you were
And-
going to
and
use that
compare
against
that
the coalition. I
So
knew.
the Jordan managing himself, you have at least 5 persons managing this fund now,
No,
or over
five puppet. You're the one.
board that
You're
manages
the
the
only
fund.
one
And
controlling
they
the
were
fund.
pleased with Jordan and this country and the civil society. If we just sat on it and implemented it, they wouldn't have had a fight now. You wouldn't have had a fight because we were implementing what they want.
No, because it was a
Actually,
cross
essentially
section
just
of
run the fund.
Guyanese would have been handling the funds.
That is
Stop
the
it.
converse.
But now you handpick these
Sometimes in
individuals.
this country,
They are
we have to
controlling the
look
fund.
at
Stop it, Jagdeo.
the
Stop it.
converse.
Stop it.
What would have happened? So APNU has a problem with this now.
Stop lying. Stop lying.
But would they have had a problem if we had just used their legislation to run the fund? That would have given the Minister of Finance all the powers. Would they have had a problem? No, they may not have had a problem. They couldn't have had a problem because they passed it. Of course, they would have had a problem because they are in opposition now. So that is what we have to look at. It's the duplicity, the blatant, slimy duplicity. I can't handle that sort of thing. How can you be credible and argue that?
You can't handle
You should be
slimy.
embracing this
lies.
change. It's not probably perfect, but it's a significant attempt to have a technical group manage and to put in more safeguards.
A technical group that you
I'm
could
sorry,
control.
So they want,
That's it.
The reintroduction of the residency requirement.
Oh, the resident.
And the use of your simple majority, even with the best.
Okay, yeah, sure. So on the use of the majority in the parliament to approve budgets and stuff like that, how do you suggest in any part of the world, you tell me where, in which country, the executive doesn't pass its budget on the basis of a majority or in principle? Where in the world, or any expenditure, and give me one country in
After
the world,
debate and transparency.
and you tell me where we can do it.
After debate and transparency and a fair-minded speaker, not this puppet you have there now. So be reasonable. Come on. We can't expect that from you. Come on, Dennis Chabral. Give somebody else another chance, man.
Even with the best arguments against some of your policies or the way you want to spend money, you will say, look, I'm going to pass it.
All right. So let us have a couple of agreements. First of all, on the receipt of the funds, that's transparent. It was not on the APNU bill, now it's transparent. You will know how much money we've collected. Every transaction you will know about. The parliament will know about. The minister can go to jail for that. That's transparent, right? It's open. Everybody knows that. Secondly, the formula. You may not agree with the formula, but at least you know transparently how much will come and how it's calculated.
Not from you, Jack.
It doesn't
There's no
rest
transparency.
on the caprices of the minister. You can predict 15 years into the future how much will come.
Yeah.
So that's transparent.
Just like we had transparency with
In terms
this,
of
right?
that, so we now have financing into the budget.
Let's pause him for a moment, man. Transparency. Where was the transparency with the Sputnik vaccine, the questionable Sputnik vaccine? Where's the transparency in terms of the other deals that you guys have had? Where's the transparency? There is actually no transparency. There's hardly any level of democracy in the country, hardly any accountability in the country. And so what Jagdeo is doing here is just trying to paint a picture because he suspects that maybe Barbara Feinstein, the deputy U.S. Secretary of State official who's in Guyana, probably preparing to leave as we speak, might be listening to him as well. And look how he comes over, like calm, like he has done nothing wrong, that he's the best person when it comes to democracy. He holds the monopoly of truth. This is a guy, and this guy is dangerous. Here's why he's dangerous, because I hope he brought up this whole interview about that will come up. I hope he brought this up. Look at this guy here. Look at him at this interview, because he's in control of this interview. The only person that is brave enough, and I give Daddy Shabral some credit, right? The others are hardly going to ask. He's hogging up all of the stuff. And I can't sit at a press conference and have him hog up stuff. Look the difference with him at this press conference compared to this interview.
Source. Maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you. Or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Sujaro?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
You notice the difference, right? But look how he's hogging things up at this press conference, because the others
fighting to prevent all these new taxes from being implemented on water and electricity and removing the children grant. We didn't have the 50% vote. In fact, they won the last election, 2015, by just 4,600 votes. And behave as though they own it. We fought to get a lot of those things blocked. Nothing we're doing now is bringing hardships on people. In fact, we said to them, if you bring measures to help people, we will support you when we're in opposition. When we take measures...
Pressure, boss pipe. Pressure, boss pipe, boy. Umaninza, Guyana, de underwater. On the wrong. Sorry.
Making the short video for send to you and the viewers and listeners. I'll know we punishing in Guyana. Punishing. Rice gone up, sugar gone up, flour gone up, cost of living just gone up, gas gone up from 3,400 to 3,800. Real hungry days under this installed PPP government. Real hungry days we gone back to.
Is this? Look at all the things happening in that country. Is this man serious?
To create jobs in other sectors. And contrast that with the philosophy of APNU, where in the 5 years they've been in office, in every one of those 5 years, they've spent less on capital expenditure than we budgeted in 2014. Imagine 5 years, less. So the capital budget shrunk in the 5 years. And then the recurrent budget, where they were busy renting buildings and directory in government, etc. How much did that grow by? 77%. Yeah, that's consumption based. You eat up every cent that you earn. You don't prepare for the future. They borrowed 100 billion from this.
But this is here is where we break it down again. He's talking about the spending of the previous administration, and the spending went into projects to build proper roads, to build hospital. The healthcare system has never been better for over 20 odd years, but we have seen a tremendous improvement under the coalition, the health sector, the water sector, the housing sector, and all these manner of things. We've seen it. We've seen proper roads all over, including in areas where the PPP got a lot of support base that they have never done anything for even their own support base, right? We have seen all these manner of things. Look, and it is important because to break this guy down and expose his lies, that is why we've got to listen. We've got to listen to the lies and throw it in the trench, because that's where look, this guy is worse. I swear, this guy is worse than a trench grapple. Worse than a trench grapple. Let's continue here, the lies.
Presidency requirement? No, because we sat together. The people of this country wanted that. That came out of a consultative process that we held across the country. The consultations, before we pursue constitutional change in the early 2000s, we established a committee that included 5 from government, 5 from the opposition,
That never gone
and 10
anywhere.
from civil society.
Never gone anywhere.
They had hearings. They listened to people on the ground. They traveled through the regions. People said, we want that change.
Look, we can't allow this guy to get away with his lies. That's why we've got to stop him. A constitutional reform that never got anywhere, right? For 23 years, it was a fraud. It was a propaganda, a way for him and his boys, them to make money. Since 1991 elections campaign, the PPP, through Dr. Chetty Jagan, who was then the presidential candidate, was talking about constitutional reform. Many of you would probably remember they were saying that the Burnham Constitution was dictatorial, it was this, and they will change it. And every single thing in that very Constitution that they denounced, that very Constitution that they were so much against, that executive power, presidential power, he has enjoyed it for 12 plus years. He is enjoying it now. So don't let him talk to you about this sort of transparency and lack of democracy under the coalition. Don't let him talk to you about that. When it comes to billions of dollars wasted, let him remind you guys, and I hope he talked to Barbara about the billions of dollars wasted through corruption with the Amila Falls project. I hope he spoke about the billions of Guyana dollars wasted in the fiber optic cable, where cables were supposed to be running from Brazil through Linden and destroyed the highway, the Linden Highway. So when you see all the destruction on the Linden Highway, it is because of Barra Jagdeo and the waste of billions of Guyana dollars on a fiber optic cable network that never came into existence, but wasted the money, wasted hundreds of millions of dollars in the one laptop per family program. So this guy has no moral authority to sit and talk about transparency and democracy and while spending. Well, let's continue to hear what else is there to lie about.
I was supposed to take over. We're not born yesterday, and we're not going to be Jew. We genuinely want to work with the opposition, but it got to be on the basis of some principles.
You want to control the
and
opposition.
long-term
Shut up.
commitment.
You don't
So-
believe in principle.
So let me get to others, Dennis. and
Yeah,
then
Dennis,
back.
come on.
Give you-
Dennis, come on. Come on,
The
Dennis.
issue of executive power should come up in the
No,
talks.
never case.
All right, Dennis, next.
In fact, on that USA report, when Mr. White was here, I spoke with him, Clinton White, and I pointed out to them many, many inaccuracies in the report. The US can conclude anything they wish. But we found out later the report was written by 2 Guyanese, and a 3rd Guyanese was the person organizing the meeting, and reviewed by USA. And there's a disclaimer. When I look at it carefully, because I didn't look at the report after it came into the public domain and I knew it was scanned it. So I saw it was written by these Guyanese, and reviewed by the USA, but there's a disclaimer right up at the front of the report. So there are so many inaccuracies. For example, the report says the PPP is an Indo-Guyanese party, but APNU mainly gets its support from Afro-Guyanese. So that means we're only Indians. 1/3 of our delegates to our Congress were Amerindians in in Essequibo Coast. But we're an Indo-Guyanese party, but the other APNU is mainly Afro-Guyanese. So that, little things like that, all the stereotypes. This report was supposed to review 2016 to 2020. It only focused on the period when we took office. It didn't speak about the taxes. It didn't speak about the discrimination, laying off sugar workers, a whole range of stuff. It just focused on that little period, but it was a review from 2016 to 2020. So we agreed that.
All right, let us stop for a moment there. We got to touch on that. He spoke about the sugar industry and the laying off of sugar workers. I'm sure he didn't tell them that it was under the PPPC regime that the sugar industry, the sugar became bitter. Sugar estates were closed. Whale estate, other estates were closed. Under the PPP regime, sugar workers were beaten. Sugar workers were jailed. They were tear gassed. All because they stood up for their rights. He didn't tell them about the 200 million white elephant sugar factory out there in Skeldon and all these manner of things. He didn't tell them that. He didn't tell them the fact that they have no plan for the sugar industry. He didn't tell them that they destroyed it, that the executives and the directors through Gaisuku were making 30,000 US dollars per month, where those directorships were given to friends and cronies and family members. He didn't tell them that, right? He didn't tell them that the first month since the coalition got into office, they rescued the sugar. Gaisuku was basically bankrupt. And it is the coalition that rescued them and continued to pay the sugar workers $7 billion in the first quarter of 2000 after they got into office. He's not going to say these sort of things, but I hope that the coalition folks, the opposition folks will have their say. They need to say something, not just a press release and that's it. They need to say something, right?
If you don't need to change the constitution, you need to throw people in jail for that sort of thing, not constitutional change. And the same thing happened with no confidence motion. Wasn't it clear that 3 months after the government falls, you have to hold elections?
There was a court.
It's clear.
It was challenged in court.
Yes.
It was challenged in court.
Sir, just a clarification, for the tree removal formula, you're saying that your government will continue supporting it in that it's probably saving grace.
It was the saving grace in the last election. Now, we're open. So if you look at our manifesto, there are two promises we made. One, we spoke about the governance model and the model at GCOM, that we need to have national discussions and consultations on this, and we will have the discussions. But in the final decision, because the people of the country will have a chance to weigh, we will be very conscious of the 2020 period about what happened at the.
All right, look, in terms of constitutional reform, another lie, hypocrite. Don't worry with this guy. He's not concerned about constitution reform. He wants to control GCOM, right? And if they can get everyone in GCOM in high positions that they can control so that they can continue to cook the books up, right? Remember the 1997 elections vitiated? In my opinion, it was rigged, but yet they were allowed to be in office for 4 years, Jagdeo and his cabals, right? In 2001, the elections questionable again. And in 2006, it is the same Jagdeo and the PPP stole a seat from the AFC. They stole a seat. They were caught red-handed, right? And it's the same GCOM that they loved then, that kept stealing for them and rigging elections for them. He now has the audacity to sit here and talk about electoral reforms. This is the same guy in 2011, the PPP attempted to grab an extra seat in order to give, what's his name again? This guy that was a puppet, right? Donald Ramotar. a majority when in fact they didn't have a majority. But he spoke earlier that in 2015, the coalition won by 4,000 plus votes. He didn't say that in 2011, the same amount of votes that Ramotar governed as a minority president. He didn't say that. He's not going to tell you guys the truth, right? But let's get back to his lies. And every time he lies, which is often, right, I'm going to actually let you know that he's lying. But I know that you know, without me telling you, that he's lying.
And what I've said before there is not anything new. Every day it's being said in Trinidad and Tobago itself by people, common people, as well as people in every circle. The groups that come here on the private sector,
The groups-
visit this all the time.
The PPP sympathizers from
Now,
Trinidad.
the fact is that Trinidad, and this is indisputable, that its economy is heavily reliant on one sector, oil and gas sector. That's a fact.
But look, this guy here seems to be having much fun talking about what's happening in Trinidad and the economy and all these manner of things, right? He's talking about they relied on oil and gas. Good, fair enough. But he's not going to tell you guys that during his presidency, what was the biggest export business in Guyana? It was cocaine, and a lot of those people were his friends. A lot of them they protected from being extradited. Speaking of extradition, Speaking of extradition, all right, I'm not going to go there yet. Speaking of extradition, I'm not going to go there yet, but let's continue to hear what he has to say. The lies, mind you.
In one of their budgets, an earlier budget, not the 2022 budget, where in 1 year they lost 80% of their revenue because of the change in oil and gas prices and the fall in production. To organize a budget when you have such a big economic shock, it is difficult. Things will fall apart, whether you like it or not.
We know why he's talking about things falling apart economically, in Trinidad. That's according to him. But the Trinidadians, most of the Trinidadians have a different version. Jagdeo is being Jagdeo, spiteful, vindictive, and evil. He doesn't like Prime Minister Rowley. He doesn't. And he is favoring the opposition, Kamala Bissessar, right? He's favoring the opposition for obvious reasons, right? And so he's telling us, or he wants to say to Trinidadians that because of Mr. Keith Rowley, Dr. Rowley, a doctor, real doctor, mind you, he didn't get his doctorate through some sort of honorary degree. He didn't get that, Jagdeo, right? So he is avoiding what's happening in his own country, Guyana. That not just that the economy is falling apart, the economy has fallen to pieces. Transparency gone out the door. Democracy is not in existence, and all these manner of things. Because when you talk, they go after you. They lock you up. They persecute you. They do every damn thing. Every single thing they're doing. So while he may think the economy is falling apart in Trinidad and Tobago, the economy in Guyana is falling to pieces. Forget about the oil wealth, because we see who are the ones who are benefiting. It's Jagdeo and his cronies and some of those puppets in the private sector commission. But let's continue to hear his lies.
In Trinidad is
Still
undiversified.
with
It
Trinidad.
relies heavily on oil and gas.
Still with Trinidad.
I spoke about when the prices fall, things start to fall apart. And they're facing some of those consequences now. So the fact that our people, I've said also on Executable Post that when many of our people fled to different parts of the world to escape hardships here, and we're grateful to those countries who accommodated them and treated them well.
Yeah, but not the Haitians, though. Certainly not the Haitians. You're not treating the Haitians well. And we know why you're not treating the Haitians well. We know why you guys don't want the Haitians in Guyana. Guyana, right? Because you're comfortable with the Venezuelans, you're comfortable with the Chinese, you're comfortable with the Brazilians, because you think that maybe because of their hair texture, that they will able to vote for the PPP. That's a fact. And you believe that if Guyana accepts 10, 15, 20,000 Haitians, but because of who they are, they may lean towards the PNC, right? We know that's the racist politics that you're playing. So don't sit here and try to be all nice and feel as though you're a kingmaker or you're a statesman. You're not a statesman. You're a hustler. Maybe that report, maybe that interview, it's time for that interview from Vice News to be out. Let's get back and hear what some of the soft questions these journalists are asking.
Trinidad and Tobago. From all Guyanese, you talk, this cuts across
Still with Trinidad.
everyone. We're not unmindful of that. Many times I spoke to the leadership over there about that. So we know about the hardships our people face too.
We know about the hardship in Guyana.
One thing will happen, we'll not be bullied. Many people believe they can bully us now into
what?
Removing the local content that we've set aside for our people to improve on. And Guyanese to now benefit from this. Trinidad and Tobago had a local content policy to. It's hard for many of our businessmen to go there and establish business.
I don't know what.
They have a hard time accessing land and anything else.
I don't know what this guy has.
Somehow people believe that suddenly these resources, we have a treaty obligations, and we are a member of CARICOM, and we want to be a member of CARICOM. CARICOM is a valuable part of our family.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I must apologize to you guys. If I were a rich guy, I would have been giving you guys one bottle of Advil each, because this is a painful press. This is live, actually. He's speaking live. We just turned the volume down. But look at what Tony Hack is saying. Trinidad and Tobago, TNT. Highest note is a $100 bill. $100. In Guyana, what's the highest bill? Well, of course, they just made, what was it, a 2,000 or a 3,000 bill? All right. The highest note in Guyana is what? $5,000. In Trinidad and Tobago, it is 100. And don't tell me that all of that changed because of a 5-year of the coalition. No. 23 hard years under the PPP. We're drug lords. Drug lords were in control of the economy. If you think I'm lying, check all the articles that Dr. Clive Thomas wrote in the Stabrook News. Check all of that. They don't want anybody to be extradited and all these things. But speaking of extradition, okay, let's go back. Let's hear more of his lies.
The change in relation to Guyanese. We suffered a long time the indignity of this judgment of our people. And so what I said here is something everyone would say and should acknowledge.
Sorry. Let's see.
Stating that Trinidad's Minister of Foreign Affairs communicated with our Minister of Foreign Affairs on the issue, and
I don't know. Todd didn't raise it with me, so.
Todd did not raise it with him. Todd did not raise it with him. You see the disrespect. You see the disrespect, right? Todd is supposed to be the foreign affairs minister. Todd did not raise it with him. Right? Thank you, Matthew James. Cocaine economy, indeed, right? Todd did not raise it with him. But yet all of the lies. There was another point that I wanted to bring to your attention. Jagdeo and his cabal, they're comfortable accepting questionable business people from around the world, right? Especially in certain quarters. But there is a guy out in Trinidad that gets the almost all of the contracts there in Guyana, right? Check his track record and his wife's track record. Check them out in Trinidad and Tobago, and you guys will understand exactly what is happening. But why is he wasting all that time on Trinidad and Tobago? What is it that he wants from Keith Rowley, the Honorable Prime Minister Keith Rowley, that he's not getting? I don't know, but let's stay focused.
So she's coming home. That sort of thing. We need people too, but as I said before, I'm extremely grateful those who have treated our people well. And I hope God would punish those who didn't treat our people well when they migrated to other countries to look for a better job. But
Well,
for
here-
those who treated our people well,
In other words, hear what this guy is trying to say, that Trinidad and Tobago doesn't treat its citizens well, Guyanese well, right? That is what he's implying. But he's also trying to say that Barbados was notorious in having Guyanese on the bench. I traveled to Barbados and I saw Guyanese on the bench. And I asked the immigration officer, why are you guys treating Guyanese like this? But it was Jagdeo under his presidency. He didn't give a damn about the treatment of Guyanese wherever they are, wherever. Whether Barbados, he didn't care. Trinidad and Tobago, he didn't care because, I can speak of firsthand of information, but I'm not going to do so. But what I'm saying is he's sitting there being a hypocrite. Again, I don't know what Rowley, poor Keith Rowley, the Honorable Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, that is doing a better job by far than a Jagdeo and an Irfan and all of them put together. But even as we speak here now, right? Guess what? Almost 10 ministers, so-called ministers of the installed regime, are out of the country. They're out of the country. They don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about the punishment in the country. They're out of the country. But let me break this down for you. Every time they leave the country, sorry about the condition of this dollar bill, right? Sorry about the condition of the dollar bill. It should give you guys an idea. Anyway, sorry about that. Every time a minister leaves the country, they walk with nothing less than $5,000 or $10,000. Jagdeo leaves the country, he leaves with about $10,000 as spending money. I think it's called per diem. All of the ministers leave with about $5,000 or $10,000. So the more trips they take outside of Guyana is the more money they will make. Unlike us, the ordinary citizens, right? And speaking of us, here at 107.1 FM and other radio stations or maybe television stations that do not support them, we get not a cent, not a blind cent. That is how they punish us. It is economic genocide amongst us broadcasters. But he's not going to tell Barbara Feinstein that, right? He's not going to tell the world that, right? But this is a guy who gives people this impression that Guyanese it's all hunky-dory under the coalition. People have been punishing from day one, from over the past year under this installed PPP regime. But let us get back to him, though, please. Forgive me. I'm getting a bit worked up with this political liar and vagabond.
yes. Is there anything else?
No, nothing else.
Thank you very much. I know it's a Friday afternoon. Marcel, wanna go? Relax, Dennis. Marcel already closed the press conference.
Relax,
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Relax, Dennis. Relax, Dennis. Relax, Dennis, right? Oops, gosh. It's done. It's done. It's done with, right? It's done with. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's, gosh, let me see some of your comments. Didn't you guys look? It was, I don't know when was the last time I've watched Comedy Central. I don't know when was the last time I watched that. But I'll tell you the truth. I enjoyed watching Comedy Central just now. I enjoyed it. Everything was comical. Every single thing. Put aside the lies. Put aside the many lies. And almost throughout that press conference, you can take everything that he said and break it to pieces, like Patsy Cline says, fall to pieces. Well, this guy just lied and lied and lied. And I noticed how he got all worked up talking about Dr. Keith Rowley, right? All worked up. Dr. Keith Rowley, keep doing what you're doing because you're getting to this guy. You're getting to this political demon in Guyana. What are your take? What is it? Let me see some of your take, your comments on this press conference. Let me see. Tony Hack. What is Tony Hack saying? I run Barbados airport lockups in Trinidad. Oh yeah, there was a couple of cases in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm no lawyer or anything. Well, of course, I'm something. I'm a social and human rights activist, right? And there were many cases in Trinidad that I personally dealt with, and persons were locked up and they were released. One girl was about to be deported, and at that time it was Jagdeo or his foreign affairs ministers and those people who solved the problem. It was my personal call to the then Minister of National Security and so forth, and emails, and negotiated for that young lady to be released from custody and to stop the deportation order. It wasn't Jagdeo and them, so they weren't concerned about citizens. Jagdeo and his folks weren't going to, They weren't going to Barbados to address the issue of when Guyanese were placed on the bench and all these manner of things. They weren't doing it, right? Well, of course, I'm not here to blow my own trumpet, but Jagdeo and his folks weren't doing these things at all. They were not. And you know why? It's because they just didn't give a damn. But yet he's going to sit at a press conference and lie upon lies and all manner of lies, right? All manner of lies. Now, let's see here. We should have a photograph. Now, what they're doing, they're traveling around the place, right? Whether it's Trinidad and Tobago or wherever, because Robert Passad just got back from Trinidad, where he held a meeting, and you will see why he held such a meeting in Trinidad. And the bulk of the meeting was either somewhere in Bartaria area, Tunapuna and them places, right? And I laughed when I saw the attendees. I smile, not laugh, because I already knew exactly the political message that they were sending, right? So let me see some more of your comments, and let me see our operator. This I don't know what lie or the lies that he's telling these people here again. That poor man, Jagdeo, is lying and lying and lying again to these poor people. You know, I'm seeing some of your comments. I'm reading some of your comments. Patricia Kisoon, you're on to something. We all know that. Wicked indeed, right? Gary Greenwich is on point. That was an advanced episode of Saturday Night Live. Now, please don't downgrade Saturday Night Live, man. Saturday Night Live is what I call high quality comedy, right? Just now we saw low quality comedy. Low quality comedy. Rita Clark has a point. Rita Clark is saying Rowley refuses to recognize the installed presidents. Okay, good. Fair enough. We know that. Ian Bino has a say. Everybody now coming with a say, right? Hugh Fraser is saying Jagdeo bad more than outrageous. Maybe we can sing and make a nice calypso out of this big notorious, what is it? Pathological liar. Somebody says punishment is waiting for him. When, man? When? Hurry up. Hurry up now, man. Hurry up. Hurry up. Oh, will you hurry up? Right? All right. Guess what? I guess that's it for me. You guys are going to see me later this evening. I hope. If you want to see me again, because we've spent how long we've spent a minute and a half before the 1 hour mark. So if you guys want me to be on later on tonight, I'll just see a quick yes or no. If not, I'll just take the night off, and I'm just gonna go around the corner and buy some candy. Right? Good. I'm not gonna go and steal any candy like what some of these notorious politicians like you know who I don't want to call their names. But hey, honestly, most of those guys are out of the country. And when they travel out of the country, is your money they travel with. They sleep in the most expensive hotels. And if they don't sleep in the hotels, they collect money to sleep in a hotel, but they sleep over by some friend, right? Kwame somewhere in Paris or somewhere, and we know he's not going to be sleeping in no hotel, right? He'll be sleeping some friend or wherever. Let's hope that he doesn't get deported from Paris or wherever he is, because you know the word is that he was deported from one of those small islands, right? And gosh, you guys wouldn't want to know what he was allegedly deported or asked to leave, expelled, got kicked out of that territory. Yeah, it's another story, right? I'll be back hopefully this evening. Hopefully, let me see. You guys want to see me this evening, right? Yeah, I agree with Gordon. Brenda says yes. Everybody wants to see me. Hi, Brenda. How are you doing? And let me see. Everybody's saying they want to see Mark this evening. They want to see Mark this evening. Yeah, I'll dig it up my head, man. Gosh. Hopefully I'll be on this evening. We at the studio, we are unable to have live programs coming out there because we want to exercise caution, right? To ensure that everything is up and running. We don't want our equipment to damage. We just don't want that at all. We just don't want that at all, right? But for now, I've got to go. I'll be on later this evening, hopefully, mind you, right? And I hope Barbara Feinstein had some time to listen to maybe this show as we debunk the lies of Barrett Jagdeo. That is exactly what he did there. That press conference was a waste of time. It was just a bunch of lies and more lies. I did my job. Over to the PNC and the AFC and the coalition and them to do their job. I just did mine, right? All right. Somebody's saying they need Tom tonight. All right. I'm not sure if Tom is available, but I've got to go. I'll see you guys later on. Bye-bye. Here's my favorite. We got to do something, man. A lot of us are what we went through there with Jagdeo just now. It's torturous, right? You guys enjoy this. This is my favorite song, right? Video.
I'm in the mood, I'm feeling rude, I'm feeling hot, I want to run. The feeling exciting, so darling, let's do something. I wanna rub my body on your body. Body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. Rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body. Rub my body on your body. I just get paid. I want to play. The vibes is right. I wanna hug up tight. No time to waste. I wanna work my ways. So come on up, babes. Give me a taste. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub and love up. I wanna rub and kiss up. I wanna rub and jam up. I wanna rub and rub up. I wanna rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Let me rub my body on your body. I wanna rub my body on your body. Well, you know, I feeling,